Good morning, everyone. We are Group 4 and we are here to discuss Lesson 4, which is Sexual Self.
We will now be discussing about sexual self. Sexual self-concept refers to the totality of oneself as a sexual being, including positive and negative concepts and feelings. Sexual self is suggested as a significant predictor of contraceptive usage among teens, and a scale evaluating the notion is provided. Sexual self is also defined as a person's assessment of their own sexual sensations and behaviors. In this topic, we will be discussing about the male and female reproductive system and also Sigmund Freud, the one who created the psychosexual stages. We will be discussing first about the male reproductive system. These are the things that you should know about the male reproductive system. Male sperm are significantly smaller than the female egg, while the sperm measures 2.5 to 3.5 microns across the head. The fully mature egg is 100 to 125 microns in diameter. There are about 500 million sperms that mature every day in a healthy male. The male scrotum hangs outside the body since the internal body temperature is too high and will kill the sperm. Once the sperm has penetrated the egg, the outer shell becomes impenetrable to the other sperms. Shown here in the images are the major parts of a male reproductive system, which are the penis, urethra, epididymis, testicle, prostate, bladder, seminal vesicle, colon. These parts are the ones responsible for the production and cycle of sperm and its nutrients in a human body.
Thank you, Coloma. Considering that everyone is now familiar with the male reproductive system, we will now cover the female reproductive system. What is the female reproductive system? Things you should know about the female reproductive system. First, it is a set of organs known as the female reproductive system that collaborate to allow for sexual activity, pregnancy, and delivery. Only females or women can get pregnant and give birth to a child. Second, it also generates the female sex hormones including progesterone and estrogen. The two main female sex hormones are estrogen and progesterone, although testosterone is considered a male hormone. Female also produce and need a small amount of these two. What are the differences between estrogen and progesterone? The main hormonal component in women is estrogen. A tiny quantity is also created in fat cells and adrenal glands, but the ovaries makes the majority of it. The placenta produces estrogen during pregnancy. Puberty, menstruation, pregnancy, and menopause are all stages of sexual and reproductive development in which estrogen plays a significant role. In addition, estrogen has an impact on the urinary tract, hair, skin, muscle, and brain. A blood test can be used to evaluate the levels of estrogen. Progesterone is a female sex hormone that the ovaries generates after ovulation. Additionally, the placenta creates some throughout pregnancy. Progesterone serves as a reduced estrogen level after ovulation and get the uterine lining ready for a fertilized egg. A blood test can be used to assess the levels of progesterone. The third is the system is made up of tissue and organs that are found both within and outside the body. And lastly, in order for male sperm to fertilize female ovaries, certain structures must be present in a female reproductive system. Given our newfound understanding of the female reproductive system, let's talk about its components. The vagina, cervix, uterus, fallopian tube, and ovaries are all parts of the female reproductive system, which is divided into several components as seen on the screen. We will also go through each component of the female reproductive system individually. Vagina. The vagina is the canal that joins the cervix, the lower parts of the uterus, to the outside of the body. It is also known as the birth canal. The vagina has three functions. First, it is where the penis is entered during sex. It is the passageway, the birth canal, where a baby exits a mother's body during childbirth. It is the passageway via which menstrual blood exits the body. Cervix. The cervix is a strong tube-like organ. It is located at the bottom of your uterus and joins your uterus to your vagina. Your cervix, which is also referred to as the neck of the uterus, is crucial in allowing fluids to travel between your uterus and vagina. It is also a strong gatekeeper that has this ability to open and shut in ways that permit conception and birthing. Uterus. In the female pelvis between the bladder and the rectum is the uterus. People born as a female have a pear-shaped reproductive organ called the uterus. It is where a fertilized eggs implants throughout pregnancy and where your kid grow up till delivery. Your menstrual cycle is also a result of it. The uterus' primary job is to feed the growing fetus before it's born. Fallopian tube. The female pelvic cavity contains bilateral fallopian tubes that connects the uterus and ovaries in order to carry and fertilize oocytes. They serve as conduits in order for the ovaries to produce eggs. They need the fallopian tube. Upon leaving the ovary, the egg can be fertilized and permitted to implant itself in the uterine lining. Ovaries. On either of the uterus are two ovaries. Eggs and hormones like progesterone and estrogen are produced by the ovaries. These hormones facilitate pregnancy and aid in the growth of females. A woman's cycle involves the release of the egg from the ovaries. I'm aware that some of you guys are wondering about or will wonder why just one sperm cell can penetrate an egg cell and what the features of the sperm cells are. Because polyspermy is prevented by a mechanism known as the cortical response, only one sperm cell can fertilize an egg. Numerous sperms can adhere to the membrane of the egg, but only one of them will fuse with the membrane and fertilize the egg as a result of this response. Sperms are made up of a head, a midpiece, and a tail, and they develop in the testes, an acrosome that carries enzymes for piercing the female egg surrounds the nucleus, which is located in the head and has tightly wound chromatin fibers. A large numbers of mitochondria are called around the midpiece primary filamentous core. And now that we finished discussing the human reproductive system, let's move on to the next topic in fruit psychosexual stages of development.
We will be discussing about Sigmund Freud. Born in the year 1856, Sigmund Freud was a late 19th and early 20th century neurologist. He is widely acknowledged as the father of modern psychology and the primary developer of the process of psychoanalysis. Freud drew heavily upon the emphasis of philosophers such as Nietzsche, Dostoevsky, and Kant. Freud's theories continue to influence much of modern psychologists, and his ideas also resonate throughout philosophy, sociology, and political science, with thinkers such as Jacques Lacan and Karl Marx drawing heavily upon Freudian theories. Freud's emphasis upon early life and the drive to pleasure are perhaps his most significant contributions to psychology. He is the one who discovered or proposed the theory of psychosexual stages of development. There are 5 stages in total, wherein the first stage is oral stage. From the age of 18 months to 2 years old, in this stage, infant achieves gratification through oral activities such as feeding, thumb-sucking, and bubbling. In this stage, it shows that the main body part at use is the mouth and the hand itself for grabbing things, and it depicts that the curiosity to grab and swallow things is at its peak on this stage. The next stage would be the anal stage. Ages 2 to 3 years old, the child learns to respond to some of the society's needs, such as bowel and bladder control. Here in this stage, it shows that the most active body part is our anus and penis or vagina because of the activity in which we need to urinate and take a dump. The next stage would be the phallic stage. Ages 3 to 7 years old, the child learns to realize the differences between males and females and becomes aware of sexuality. In this stage, the child questions their differences from their parents, such as their gender and sexual body parts, and they are mostly taught in this stage on how to act or behave as per connected to what their gender is.
Latency stage, 7 to 11 years old. The child continues his or her development, but sexual urges are relatively quiet. The fourth stage of psychosexual development, known as the latency stage, is 7 to 11 years old. Since no additional psychosexual development occurs at this stage, the libido is dormant. Latens means hidden. The majority of sexual urges, according to Freud, are suppressed during the latent period and can be channeled into academic pursuit, extracurricular activities, and social relationships. The child focus shifts significantly from play to learning new skills and information, and much of their energy is spent with youngsters or young guests of the same gender. And lastly is the genital stage. Genital stage is 11 years old to puberty. The growing adolescent shakes off all dependencies and learn to deal maturity with the opposite sex. The final stage in Freud's psychosexual theory or personality development, which starts at puberty, is the genital stage. In our 20s, we settle down in a loving one-on-one relationship with another person, which is the successful conclusion to the period of teenage sexual exploration. Instead of self-pleasure, like it did at the phallic stage, the sexual instinct is focused on heterosexual pleasure. Freud believed that heterosexual interaction was the best way for people to express their sexual urge. Sexual prevention might emerge as a result of fixation and conflict preventing this. For instance, a person who is fixated on the oral stage may find that kissing and oral sex provide more sexual gratification than other types of sexual contact. Sexual desires become conscious with the concept of puberty. Puberty. Puberty is the process of physical changes through which a child body matures into an adult body, capable of sexual reproduction. It is initiated by hormonal signals from the brain to the gonads, the ovaries in a girl, and the testes in a boy. Puberty marks the beginning of the genital stage, the last stage of development. During this time, the individual looks for the methods to sate their violent and sexual urges, respectively, including competing, engaging in physical taxing activities, exercising, and arguing, and is the time in life when a male and a female become sexually mature. And what of the part of physical body of a male and female become mature? In a male, their voice becomes much lower. Hair starts to grow on the chest, face, underarms, and pubic area. The body becomes more muscular. Penis become larger. Testes starts to produce sperm. And in a female, their breasts grow, nipple enlarge, hair develops under the arms and in the pubic area, hips become wider, the uterus and vagina become larger, and ovaries start to release egg and the period begins, or we call it menstruation.
Erogenous zone. It is an area of the body that has high sensitivity and can cause a sexual reaction when stimulated. Ito yung part ng katawan natin na kapag na-stimulate, pwedeng mag-trigger ng sexual excitement. May mga taong nagsasabi na by tickling or touching their erogenous zone, napakos sa kanila ng pleasure ito. May iba naman na applying pressure or vibration sa erogenous zone nila makes them feel better. Erogenous zones that you haven't probably considered. Ito yung part ng katawan natin na di natin nakakalain na erogenous or sensitive pala. First, ears. Yung ears natin, sensitive yung balat niyan sa labas. Sa loob naman, meron niyang hundreds of sensory receptors. Para naman ma-arouse yung partner mo, pwede mo i-light kiss, lick, or bite yung earlobe niya. Pwede mo rin i-take advantage yung sensory receptors na nasa loob ng tenga by whispering or lightly blowing para mas madagdagan yung arousal ng partner mo. Second, small of the back or sacrum. Yung area na to is napaka-sensitive. Probably may connection yung nerves na nakatouch sa spine papuntang pelvis na kapag nahawakan is sensitive. Light touches sa area na to can cause pleasure. Pwede ka gumamit ng kamay, lips, and tongue para makiliti yung area na to. Kung gusto nyo mag-partner, mag-explore, pwede kayo gumamit ng ice cube or vibrator. Third, neck. Sa neck naman, kahit slightest touch dito is pwede mag-send ng tingly sensation sa buong katawan. Lastly, yung inner wrist. Female erogenous zone, clitoris, G-spot, pubic mound, cervix, and A-spot. As you can see, part siya ng genital ng babae. Stimulation sa mga parts na to through masturbation, partner's touch, sex toys, and other methods ay kadalasan nagre-result sa arousal na may kasamang increase of blood flow and sensitivity. Meron nakalagay dito na A-spot. Ano nga ba yung A-spot? A-spot, also known as anterior fornix erogenous zone. Itong pleasure point na to ay located deep inside the vagina between the cervix and bladder. Dahil located nga siya deep inside ng vagina, kaya tinatawag din siyang deep spot. May isa pang nakalagay dito which is yung G-spot. Ano nga ba yung G-spot? Nasaan nga ba yung G-spot? Honestly, it's complicated. The G-spot, also known as Grafenberg spot, is located sa loob ng vagina. Pwede maging susi yung region na to para ma-achieve ng mga babae yung orgasm during sex. Dagdag ko rin na yung G-spot ng bawat babae magkakaiba. Di porket nasa part na yun yung G-spot ng isang babae, ganun na rin sa isa. Which explains why kung bakit mahirap hanapin yung G-spot. Ano nga ba yung pinagkaiba ng G-spot sa A-spot? Yung G-spot, nasa loob siya ng vagina pero mahirap siya hanapin dahil nga di siya part ng anatomy. While yung A-spot naman, ganun din. Mahirap siyang hanapin pero unlike sa G-spot, yung A-spot may distinct part siya sa vagina. Located yung A-spot along the front vaginal wall. 2 inches deeper siya compared sa G-spot. Dahil nga malalim siya, mahirap siyang abutin gamit lang ang daliri. Kaya nirecommend ng expert na kung gusto mong ma-experience na stimulate ang A-spot mo, pwede kang gumamit ng sex toy na at least 5 inches long or pwede rin gamit yung partner mo kung meron siyang long fingers or penis na kayang abutin yung A-spot. Male erogenous zone. Glans, frenulum, perineum, prostate, foreskin, scrotum, and testicles. Ito naman, parts ng genital ng lalaki. Pag na-stimulate yung mga parts na to, madalas ay nagre-result sa orgasm, lalo na yung head ng penis. Yung head kasi ng penis, napaka-sensitive niya, lalo na sa mga touches, kasi meron siyang nerve endings na nagsisend ng message papunta sa brain kung ano nararamdaman ng katawan natin. Yung mga sobrang sensitive naman na penis, pwede siyang makaapekto sa sexual life and daily activities ng isang tao. Erogenous zones that you might have suspected. Ito yung part ng katawan natin na obvious o alam natin na erogenous zone. First, areola and nipples. Pag na-stimulate yung nipple, ay halos parehas lang yung feeling pag na-stimulate yung genital natin. Pwede kang gumamit ng lips, tongue or vibrator sa pagsistimulate sa area na to. Kung gusto mo ng sexy sensation, pwede kang gumamit ng ice cube. Kung gusto naman ng partner mo ng rough, pwedeng kagatin mo ng light yung nipples. Kung gusto niya ng mas rough pa, pwede kayo gumamit ng nipple clamps. Second, navel and lower stomach. The fact na malapit yung area na to sa genital ay pwede siyang mag-cause ng arousal pag nahawakan. Pwede mong gamitin yung tongue or fingertips pag ini-stimulate yung area na ito. Kung gusto mo naman mag-explore by yourself, pwede mong i-massage ng gentle yung area na to. Lastly, inner arms and armpits. Sa area na to, light touches lang yung kailangan para yung kiliti na nararamdaman mo pwede maging hot feeling. Two types of erogenous zone. First, specific zone. This zone is high stimulation and has the ability to raise brain arousal in general. Yung specific zone, ito yung alam ng lahat ng sensitive part ng katawan nila, gaya ng lips, nipples, sa genital natin. Mas madali yung access sa nerves sa mga part na to, since mas malapit siya sa balat natin. Second, non-specific zone. The nerve endings are located lower beneath the skin surface in the non-specific zone, where they may not always cause the same powerful sexual reaction. They are frequently the subject of tickle fights. Yung non-specific zone naman ay yung nerve endings dito, located siya beneath the skin surface. Mas malalim siya compared sa specific zone. Yung non-specific zone gaya ng armpit, abdomen, bottom of the pit, and neck, sila yung sensitive sa kiliti.
Four phases of sexual response. Excitement. In the excitement stage, the body prepares for a sexual activity by tensing muscles and increased heart rate and blood pressure. In the male, blood flows into the penis, causing it to become erect. While in the female, the vaginal walls become moist, the inner part of the vagina becomes wider, and the clitoris enlarge. Plateau. In the plateau stage, breathing becomes more rapid, and the muscles continue to tense. The glands at the head of the penis swells, and the testes enlarge in the male. While in the female, the outer vagina contracts and the clitoris retracts.
Orgasm. This space is also called as the climax space, since this is where everything reaches its peak. The increasing of heart rate, involuntary spasms, involuntary moaning occurs. The intense heart rate and muscle spasms leads to the sensational pleasuring feeling of an individual reaching an orgasm. Resolution. This is the last phase where our body starts to return to normal. The heart rate slowly goes back to its normal state. The muscle tension starts to go away. This is where our body feels relaxed. This is why after an orgasm, a person tends to fall asleep and feel tired. It is because of the relaxation it brings. Also, the hormone that is released is called oxytocin, also known as love hormone. It promotes the feeling of intimacy and closeness. Our body also releases serotonin, which makes a person feel well and happy.